Hello everybody, so we're going to talk about homeopathy part 2, which is practical tips, and the purpose of this is to equip you guys. The purpose is not so you call either another person or a homeopath, but for you to take charge of your health with remedies that you understand are right for your health. And so this is practical tips on what to do when and how, and the reasoning behind homeopathy, and to show you how it works. And once you understand how it works, I think you will be able to administer remedies much, much more deeply, much better, and a lot of it is exactly like following a recipe. So if you're good at baking or cooking, you're good at this. It requires some intuition, and all of you have a lot of that as well. So we're going to always start, I'm thinking I'll always start with a case study, and we're going to talk about something called the Banerjee Protocols. Do you remember the Banerjee Protocols from last time? No.
I remember the name.
Okay, so the Banerjees are a family of doctors that have been practicing homeopathy for 160 years, almost since the days of Hanuman, and they have developed protocols for a lot of these conditions that work remarkably well, that can be applied to people across a swath of society. And I want to start with gangrene first. So here's a case of gangrene, and this was in January 2014, and I think this is December 2014. So January 2014, if you can see this, he had a gangrenous toe. This person had a gangrenous toe from here and in both of these toes. This was about May of 2014. This was about June of 2014. This was about September of 2014. And by about December of 2014, as you can see, this gangrenous toe had completely cleared up.
Unreal.
Yes. No allopathic doctrine, no allopathic prescription has achieved this kind of change without a severe amount of very, very strong medications that kill a person, or a change in lifestyle, such as giving up completely carbohydrates, so on and so forth. So this person was administered a remedy called Hypericum perforatum 200C and Arsenicum album 200C. But how many months? He started in January. He was seen by the Banerjees in January. 12 months of treatment. 12 months of 200C Hypericum plus Arsenicum album 200C. You got these kinds of results. Every 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Round the clock.
Around the clock. So 8 times a day, this guy was taking Arsenicum album, Hypericum, for a year, but the results are miraculous and magical. So homeopathy does not act fast, and therein lies the trouble with homeopathy and the good of homeopathy. Because what it's basically doing is reviving this person's vital force so that their body is able to handle this gangrene, cure it from the inside, so his toe doesn't have to be cut off, his foot does not have to be amputated. And this was an older person, much older person. The other cases, I have more details. Oh, sorry, wrong. A case of rectal prolapse. Oops. This is an 83-year-old person. When you have a rectal prolapse, your rectum kind of pops out. The duration of his illness was 5 months, so 5 months approximately of treatment. They came to the clinic, to the Banerjee clinic. First visit September 7th, 2013. And September 15th is when they received this treatment. And September 21st, this is the European style of dating. September 21st, the prolapses had substantially cured.
That's 1 week's time.
Yes.
Step back a little bit. Thank you.
The remedy prescribed here was Podophyllum 200C and Rutagramulins 200C, 1 dose every 3 hours, alternately. So when I say alternately, it means you don't take them at the same time. You take Podophyllum, and then an hour later you might take the Ruta, and then 3 hours later from the Podophyllum you take the next Podophyllum, an hour later. So you stagger it by a period of time. So you're alternating the dose every 3 hours. Or, you could do this too. 200C Podophyllum, first 3 hours. Sorry, that's the right interpretation. Ruta, 3 hours later. 3 hours after that, Podo, Ruta, Podo, Ruta. And serious chronic conditions have been cured. Conditions for which there are no allopathic treatments. So this is case study number 2 of rectal prolapse. The third is chronic renal failure. There is an exponential increase in renal failure today, with people going on dialysis, people going on lines for kidney transplantation, and the same thing with liver as well, liver and other organs. And this is a 15-year-old person, a young person, who had a complaint of vomiting after eating, weakness, so she ate something, probably destroyed her kidneys. The first visit was March 15, 2010, and total duration of the illness was 2 months. So pretty much in a month and a half, which is on the blood report of the 28th of May. So February 18th was the first blood report, and May 28th was the second blood report. Her creatinine levels had gone from 7.4 to less than 0.9 milligrams per deciliter. She would probably have died in a hospital or been in line for dialysis and then kidney transplant. So this is a case of chronic kidney failure, 15-year-old person, duration of the illness was 2 months. They first visited the clinic in March, and by the end of May, she was in far better shape. She had no prior history of any sort, so this was maybe caused by something she ate or poisoning of some sort. And these are all results that are lab results, MRIs, pictures, and so on. The remedy or the Banerjee protocol for chronic renal failure is Medorinum 200C every alternate day. Lycopodium 30C, Cantharis 200C, 1 dose every 3 hours alternately. That is the same as the previous one, which is you take a Lycopodium, 3 hours later you take a Cantharis, 3 hours later you take a Lycopodium, and then 1 dose of the Aconitum mother tincture daily. So there are 2 thoughts of school in homeopathy. One is the constitutional, where a homeopath sits with you for like a half a day and gives you 1 remedy, and that remedy is supposed to fix everything. The problem is that would take a person half a day, and if he's not a very smart homeopath, you're waiting and waiting for months and months and months to get your treatment tweaked and right if the first one did not work. The Banerjee Protocols, what the Banerjees did was they are serving 200 cancer patients daily. They look at 1,200 patients, most of whom they treat for free from all over India. So in a week, they're getting 7,000-8,000 patients. They have a huge amount of experience that the great-grandparent and his children and his children's children have built up over the last 150 years. They take their cases in 5 minutes. They have protocols. These are reproducible, and that is the big difference between the Banerjee protocols and constitutional homeopathy, which is they're taking advantage of modern diagnosis. Remember, during Hanuman's time, he couldn't peek into your heart and tell you what you had, or that you had a tumor in your belly, or what have you. Now we know exactly what the diagnosis is, and people come to them with their MRIs in hand, their blood reports in hand. The disease is defined, and so therefore the fix or the RX for that remedy, that disease is also defined. But for renal failure, homeopathy works very, very beautifully. Now, this was a 15-year-old, and it was relatively fast. So March through, it's like April, May, February, March, April, May, 4 months, this person was back in gear. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about with someone that I'm very close to who passed away recently, who had kidney failure. He had kidney failure, his creatinine levels were through the roof, he became disoriented, he went to hospital, and really their next option was to put him on dialysis. You could have given this gentle medication to an 87-year-old and it would have helped him heal over a period of time.
If you shut off the light, the words are going to show up better on your.
Should I do that?
Yes,
Okay.
because I photographed it and it's very. This bleaches it
better?
out. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me take it.
I don't think you can see it anyway because I can't see it in the. Can you see it better?
I will tell you in a second. You just step back a little bit.
Better.
Well, it might need to be flash. I don't know.
Yeah,
This way.
it's a smaller print maybe.
That's
Yeah,
not
but I'll send the PowerPoint out, so she'll have the PowerPoint. Shall I turn the light back on?
Yes. Oh, you want
Yes.
to know?
I could see it better with the lights on.
Okay, light on it is. Okay, so this is to tell you that homeopathy works with the right treatments, with the right amount of time, with patients. It works, and it works for very, very chronic and otherwise incurable diseases. The next case was one of psoriasis, and their standard protocol for psoriasis is Heparsol 200C, 1 dose every other day, and arsenic amalgam 200C, 1 dose daily.
So psoriasis is what? Skin?
Psoriasis is a skin condition,
Yes,
but very specific. So you want to get
How does it show itself?
rashes on the eczematous
Is
skin.
it scaly?
Scaly. Sometimes it oozes
That
and
helps.
pusses. Yeah. And so yes, so for every skin condition, whether it's eczema or psoriasis or rosacea or acne or
Rosacea also.
what have you, there's a different protocol. This is for psoriasis specifically, and we can walk through other protocols as well.
Perfect.
Alopecia, and this is autoimmune alopecia. This is the kind of alopecia that happens for no rhyme or the body is basically making antibodies to your hair follicles, and you start losing hair, and especially women who lose hair, because women don't usually lose hair, or men with autoimmune alopecia. Heparsol 1000C, 1 dose every week. Ustilago 200C, 1 dose daily.
Is it hair all over the body or just?
This is hair
Hair
in
over-
parts where there is
Yeah.
usually hair,
Yeah.
such as the head, where it's disappearing.
Under the
And in this
arms.
case, it was a woman. Yeah.
Legs under the arm.
Could be, but typically you lose it in patches on your head, and just kind of falls out in clumps. And so this is a long-term treatment, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 years. But between 2007 and 2011, this person
Wow.
got a nice, lush head of hair. Big difference, big difference. And so homeopathy is the ideal medicine for today's diseases because they're autoimmune in nature. Like cancer, rheumatic arthritis, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, these are all diseases that are autoimmune in nature, and homeopathy shores up your vital force and helps you deal with the disease from the inside, cure it from the inside, heal it from the inside. Usually you would have gotten steroids or antibiotics or anti-inflammatories for a lot of these conditions, but with homeopathy, it's actually in curing the diseases, it's uprooting the disease. So
It's curing the disease rather than taking care of the symptoms.
Exactly. And the symptoms are used as a guideline. And so the question that people ask is, how does homeopathy work? And I had that same question, and the Banerjees have some very good answers. And I think they say it way better than I do, which is that it is essentially immune therapy. we today in science are at the forefront of immune therapy, where you have these $250,000 treatments, which target like one antibody in your body and help you with, developing a resistance to a disease related to that particular set. This is immune therapy that actually stimulates and regulates your own immune system to do what is needed to be done to address a condition. And the way they do it is with very specific remedies that address each one of those areas. Some of them are tissue specific, some of them are symptom specific, some of them are very disease specific. And it's very interesting how over the last 160 years, they've come up with these protocols. And what this has done is it's given you and me the power to address some of our health conditions ourselves with these protocols. You don't have to spend, thousands and thousands of dollars going to 15 different homeopaths and not knowing, whether you're going to get results or not. We have these Banerjee protocols. And what they have is first line, second line, third line. So the first line doesn't work, you move to second line. First line works for about 70-80% of the general population. Second line for the remaining, 15%, and the third line for the remaining 5%. So you don't lose too much time. You don't spend a lot of time. It is efficacious. It does not have side effects, and you see results. And you get to see the results, so you know whether it's working or not. So this is generally how homeopathic medicines are believed to work, and we now have a lot of scientific evidence to prove this. Evidence such as Ruta 6C, the remedy that you have, but in 6C potency, its effect on glioblastomas, on brain cancer cells. It selectively attacks, engulfs, and kills the cancer cells, and it actually increases the telomeres, or it increases the life force of the surrounding cells. It is that precise of a remedy for that kind of condition. And in doing all these things, the potency is very important. So more is not necessarily good. 1 million C potency, 1 million potency is not necessarily better than a 2C or even an X potency, which is 10X, or not in the hundreds of centesimal, but in the decimals. And so more is not necessarily better. What it's doing is it's very, very minorly stimulating the immune system and nudging it in a certain direction over a long period of time, so that the place whence this condition came from, originally you didn't get this overnight, and you're not going to take it away overnight. But as you guide your body slowly towards a state of balance, your body starts to fill in the gaps and heal that condition under the right sort of tutorship of the right remedies. So what it's basically doing is it's stimulating your immune system. You have multiple sclerosis drugs like Avonex and all that are like $60,000-$100,000 a year that are simply suppressing your immune system. This is not doing that at all. It's doing the exact opposite. It's stimulating your immune system. It is modifying it in ways that revert balance back to your body, and it is inhibiting the immune system where the immune system is dysregulated and may be working against the body. So these are sort of the three things that the immunotherapy of homeopathy will do for you. And so basically what's happening is it's strengthening the body's immune system. So Matilda, to give you an example, Matilda took her lachesis, right? Mm-hmm. And her acne got better. So this is not like antibiotics where you keep taking it until the bitter end, or for 10 days, or 2 months, or 2 years even. Once the body is on the right track, you sort of taper off on the remedy and let the body do the healing. If she finds that it's starting to break out again, then she does it for a little bit longer. And what she will find is that the episodes of cystic or acne become longer and longer. The intervals between the acne become longer. The intensity shrinks, and over time, it disappears completely. And that is what you want your remedy to do for you. And so as we all work together, just tell me when it's not working. Tell me when you've been doing it for a couple of months, no change. Then one can tweak the remedy, one can tweak the protocol to the second line of the Banerjee Protocols, with the second line of any protocols I think she's trying to call you.
Oh, no, it's slammed.
Okay. And how is the body's immune system strengthened? This is through the process of exposing your body to non-toxic doses of an offending or disease-causing agent, which mobilizes the immune response to resist the actual disease. Like cures like. This is the fundamental tenet of vaccinations, but there's a vast difference. And that is, in the vaccines, you're putting in all kinds of stuff, detritus, dead and poisonous matter into your body, whereas this is a very tiny and extremely diluted amount of the substance, to the point where not a molecule of that substance even remains, and it kind of pushes your body in the direction of building an immune response to that condition. Or not building, as the case may be.
Can you just stand back a little?
Okay.
There you go. Now I can see.
And so this is the foundation of immune therapy in general, and it is also the basic tenet of homeopathy. Similia, similibus, curantur, like cures like. So think about it in terms of what you have, Their digitalis is a poison of the heart, and yet in very, 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 very homeopathic doses, or astrophanthus, or these are all of the digitalis family, or digitalis will cure heart disease. Lead causes poisoning of our body and causes paralysis in the lower limbs, and yet homeopathic doses of lead will stimulate the immune system to get rid of the lead and to stimulate recovery. And that is the opposite, the exact opposite of allopathic medicine, which consists of suppressing your symptoms and using that as a marker of a cure. If I have a cancer here, say a big golf ball sized ball, malignant, and the surgeon locked it off, do you really think my cancer is cured? Whatever
Seeds
caused
are
that,
still there.
whatever caused that is still in my body. So cancer is a condition of my body. It's not a condition of this tumor. This tumor is not separate from my body. And unless my body is healed, my cancer will not be healed. Which is why chemotherapy is probably the dumbest treatment on earth, because what is it doing? It's
killing the immune system.
Yeah, it's basically killing the immune system, killing your cancer, but killing your immune system, so that the next time the cancer comes, there will not be a shred of the immune system to protect it. It's going to come back with a vengeance. It's going to come back in every other organ. And, if the chemotherapy itself doesn't kill you, the knock-on cancer will. The reason people go for chemotherapy is not just that it's widespread and so on, but they kind of want instant results. It's not just because they're brainwashed. It's because for millennia, people have been wanting instant results. Like in the old days, they used to give them what for syphilis, if you remember. If you had syphilis, there were no antibiotics. What did the patient get? A very, very toxic metal. Mercury, yeah. So the patient would get mercury for syphilis. Of course, the mercury would kill some of the syphilis bacteria, but more than that, the mercury would kill the patient. And so then they would get something called tertiary syphilis, which is the effect of the mercury, and that never went away. So that would slowly kill the person, make them insane before it killed them, and they died a very, very gory death. So, but in the early going, it took away the lesions, and you could see progress and improvement. And if someone hard sold you that enough, you would go for it and say, maybe because that thing is going down, therefore, suppressing it is the right thing to do. And that's essentially, we're treating our cancers with mercury today. That's essentially what we're doing. But like cures like. If your immune system is to be activated, it has to be subjected to very tiny doses of whatever it is, and it will launch a response, and every immune system does. They've had very, very good luck with the most aggressive chronic cancers, the most aggressive forms of cancers. They've had luck with the most aggressive diseases, and especially aggressively growing brain cancers. And so the Banerjee protocol for brain cancers, glioblastomas, is used worldwide by people, random people like us, who don't even know them, who just take the Ruta 6C, there's another thing, I think Calphos or something, 3X, for 6 months, a year, their glioblastomas will shrink, disappear, and then they call the Banerjees for next steps. What do I do now? So they've had, in 80 countries, people using their protocols, and they have given them away for free. They've not patented them. They're very generous. And this is to pay homage to Mr. Prasanta Banerjee, who was born in 1933 and passed away recently at the age of 84. And all his life he devoted to creating these Banerjee protocols. And his patients from the poorest slums in India had better results than cancer patients who are treated in fancy hospitals. So that's your Banerjee protocols, and the explanation is very valid. Immune therapy is something we didn't know about 100 years ago, but Hahnemann divined it. He realized that the way medicine was operating in that era was very allopathically, which was suppressing symptoms rather than helping the body cure itself. So there's something called isopathy, where we have actual research evidence, which is if I'm allergic to cat dander, I take some of that cat dander, I put it in water, I succuss it, I dilute that, and I take that as a homeopathic remedy to the point of almost no cat dander in that water, but over time, my cat allergies will start to disappear, and that's what's happening because I've been taking homeopathic remedies. So our aunt Carol has 1, 2, 3, I believe 4 Siamese cats. And when I entered their house, I would be like, and have asthma. And now I don't. Or I would sneeze, and now I don't. So they tried this trial with mixed grass pollen. There was a placebo group, and there was the mixed grass, the homeopathic remedy group. They took 144 hay fever patients and gave one group the homeopathic tituration of the mixed grass pollen, and they had very, very good improvements in the people's hay fever.
I'm going to look for a pointer so that you can not be in front of the screen.
Okay.
Let's see.
Here, I can point with this. How about I point with
Let me
that?
see if I find something, but keep going.
Okay, and so this is very disease-specific treatment, and this is where it's isopathy. You're using the same thing to cure the same thing. But that's not always the case. In homeopathy, it is not necessary that isopathy is always the cure. For instance, hypericum is a nerve pain medicine, and it's made from St. John's wort, which cures depression, actually. But when it's turned into a homeopathic remedy, it has very different effects. So you don't want to confuse a tincture, an herbal tincture, with a homeopathic remedy of the same name. Like bloodroot. Bloodroot in its raw herbal form has a very different effect on the body than sanguinaria or bloodroot in the homeopathic form. So that's just to keep them separate. In homeopathy, there's very different results from that remedy. And so the immunology is a hyper-responsive immune system. You could either have a very responsive immune system, in the case of autoimmune disease, where your body is making antibodies against your own tissue, and you're getting lesions in your brain, lesions in your spine, and thereby causing your nervous system to get disorganized. And so that's a hyper-responsive immune system, and in that case, you use homeopathic remedies to moderate that immune system. There's also primary immune system diseases, which are things like, just the immune system is attacking itself. There's autoimmune diseases, and that's where your body is making antibodies against itself. And then there's failures of the immune surveillance system, where cancers are growing rampant in your body, and your body is not able to curb them. So that's an immune system that's gone to sleep. So on the one hand, you have autoimmunity. On the other hand, you have a complete absence. You will find that cancer patients don't get colds and coughs and this and that. They're anergic. Whereas a person with an active immune system is going to sniffle and sneeze and cough and moan and groan because their immune system is reacting in the way it should. And so these are the failures of the immune system that homeopathy addresses. You want me to use that?
It's like, it's
Wonderful. Okay, so hyper-responsive immune system, primary immune system diseases, autoimmune diseases, and failure of immune surveillance, that is, cancers at the various sites. What are hyperimmune disorders? These are things like respiratory allergies, things that I had when I was exposed to haze in Malaysia, and the dengue fever where I was given antibiotics and it just wrecked my system. So here, we encourage exposure to the allergen, right? If it is a condition that is a hyperimmune disorder, such as asthma. So you encourage exposure to the allergen, but with that you improve the general resistance to allergies with something like a Calcarea carbonica, twice daily or 1 million every 7 days.
Is pollution considered an allergen?
If it bothers you.
Yeah.
If it bothers you, then it's an allergen. If you get hyperimmune response, such as you inhale smoke and you're dying all of a sudden, that's a hyperimmune response. If your body is not able to detoxify those poisons, then what you want to do is improve your general resistance with something like a Calphos, Calcart. And for you, that is Calcart, and that's one of your remedies. So you want to take the 30C, that remedy once or twice daily. Yeah, you have it amongst your remedies, I hope. So these are the hyperimmune disorders. And the reason I'm talking about this is, are you getting the sort of the logic behind this?
Yes.
What to use for what?
So I know you're going to get to this, but is there anything that we have to avoid while taking these?
Yes, yes. You have to avoid taking remedies that antidote those remedies. And we'll talk about that as well. But any strong smells, coffee will antidote. So drink it away from eat it away from your coffee. Mint tea, sniffing rosemary or essential oils. Camphor will antidote most remedies. And so you want to take it away from those. If you want to antidote something, eat camphor. Camphor, the homeopathic camphor. So the Banerjee Protocols are very, very different than standard homeopathy, which follows the exact laws of similia of the person. The Banerjee Protocol follows the law of similia of the disease. The cardinal principle of homeopathy, constitutional homeopathy, is the simpler remedy, the better. The Banerjee does not subscribe to that. It treats what you've got, and in doing so, it's helping to uproot the disease. And they have the experience of several generations now. 6 generations of homeopaths have been applying it successfully. The law of the minimum. You do give the minimum dose that is necessary to have success, but not necessarily in an acute disease condition and not necessarily in the Banerjee Protocols. There's frequently either very low or very high potencies, and they have effect. And when they have effect, it is working. And then in the standard homeopathy, there's a theory of chronic disease, and the Banerjee Protocol says, no, I will treat the disease, and there's a lot of genius in this, and I'll tell you why. Suppose you come and tell me I have, Parkinson's, Then I go, oh, that's because, and then you say 20 years ago I was subjected to mercury, or I was subjected to this, that, or the other, and trauma as well, and I worked in a coal. I mean, unless there's very obvious cause and effect, you're telling me something that I really cannot prove, or you cannot really prove, although many people do have the right connections, they have the right intuition. But what you don't know is exactly why that got triggered. Many other people worked in mines, but only I got this disease. Many other people got amalgams, but only I got this. So why? And what the Banerjees are saying is, we're not smart enough to figure that out. What we are smart enough to do is to bring about a cure to that disease, and that will lead us effectively to the root cause of that disease and help us alleviate that. So they're going backwards from the disease. And so the theory of the vital force says, you give them one remedy for their constitution and everything takes care of itself. But in the Banerjee's experience, that has not been the case, and it's not reproducible. Because not every homeopath has, 20 years of knowledge, 20 years of experience, and so on. But they have protocols that when your disease is diagnosed and you apply that protocol, they have stunning success. So that's the Banerjee protocol. So for instance, nasal discharge or nose block. Just get a sanguinaria 200C and 2 a day. Take it 2 a day. If you have watery eyes, allium cepa 30C. Use as needed. Sneezing. If you're sneezing constantly, arsenicum album 6C, SOS means as needed.
What if you're sneezing when you walk into a room in the morning?
Take arsenicum album. Immediately, you'll feel better and it'll uproot the condition that caused you to sneeze in that.
What if you have constantly where it's your nose is sort of running and you're pinching your nose so that it doesn't come out?
There's other remedies for that. There's other remedies. But if you have runny nose, typically, so there's watery eyes and watery nose, running nose and running eyes. If you have runny nose and it is acrid discharge, meaning you feel sore here, then it is allium cepa. And if it is a bland discharge, then it's euphrasia. So acrid is when it burns, when it comes out. That's onion, allium cepa. And if it doesn't burn, if it's a bland discharge, then it's something called euphrasia. So just keep that remedy on hand and it's there. Skin allergies. Again, skin allergies, you want to give the person general constitutional support, which is Psoriasis. Psoriasis 200C or tuberculinum 200C. And then for the rash itself, you give antimonium crude 6C twice a day. It's a low potency, and it acts gradually and slowly, and it roots out the problem.
So when you say skin allergy, if you put something on your skin, or if you're...
It could be from that, it could be environmental, it could be just be something you've been suffering on forever. You've got a rash on your skin, it is itchy. As a general constitutional, you take Psoriasis or tuberculinum for constitutional support. So this turns it into a protocol, meaning you don't have to think too hard. These are human conditions that they have sort of summarized. And because they deal with so many people, they have a pretty good eye on what actually works.
So this would be for rash and itching too?
Yes, exactly. So Psoriasis for constitutional and antimonium crude 6C twice a day. You keep doing it. Over time, your rash will get better. So you're treating these symptoms such as asthma, which are hyperimmune disorders. This is allergic asthma. That's what I had. So a good constitutional remedy is Calcarea carbonica, and then Ipecac if you have a gagging cough, Kaliiodatum 6C if you're wheezing or dyspnea, which is shortness of breathing. That's your extrinsic allergic asthma protocol, and you just do it. You just keep these 1, 2, 3 things on hand, and you do it over time, and don't expect results in 1 day or 2 days or even 1 month. In 2-3 months, you'll find that you're getting the symptoms less and less and less, and next year they may come not at all or not with that ferocity. And so it's really cleaning out your system. Things like chronic intrinsic asthma in adults. Chronic intrinsic, caused by internal factors, whether it's gastric reflux, whether stuff is going from your belly into your lungs, whether you have a liver problem, whether you have a kidney problem, whether you have stress that's causing this. So sort of make the distinction between the two asthmas, right? You and I are common people, but we can't make the distinction between, fungus or bad air causing our asthma versus, oh, I had too much, cake today, and now I'm getting asthma, or I ate some food, or maybe if you're allergic to gluten or whatever. And then in that case, chelidonium 6C alternating every 3 hours with heparsulf 6C, kali 6C, kali carb 200C. So you alternate these. 6x, da, da, da. And for this kind of intrinsic asthma, especially when you wake up in the morning and you have asthma, chances are it was intrinsic. Chances are you had gastric reflux and stuff ran into you. So it's a digestive problem, in other words.
So what would it be like if you wake up in the morning and then what would be happening?
Clearing, or you're short of breathing, or in the night you can't breathe, your mouth pops open and you're not breathing. If you're not breathing,
And so what do you use for that? Your mouth pops open?
So if it is asthmatic condition, meaning you're not able to breathe, then this will work. In fact, for that kind of stuff, this will definitely, chelidonium is a great remedy. Heparsulf is great, kali iod, and kali carbonicum. This is the constitutional kali carbonicum. Are great remedies. You wake up gasping and not being able to breathe. That's intrinsic. It's to do with your sympathetic nervous system. See, you get frightened and you can't breathe. That's intrinsic. You breathe car fumes and you can't breathe. That's extrinsic.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
Yeah.
And they've broken it out into two parts. That's so clever. Autoimmune diseases under classical homeopathy, and classical homeopathy, not to bash it, they've had very, very good results. Gibson, etc., these researchers, significantly better results with homeopathy versus salicylates, aspirins, Tylenols, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. 42% were able to stop all therapies. Nearly half of the people who were on those therapies earlier for autoimmune disease were able to get off completely. Depression, autoimmunity, pain, inflammation. Aurum metallicum is the Prozac of homeopathic medicine. Why would you want to eat Prozac and have the chance, have the possibility of committing suicide? There's so many side effects from all these antidepressant drugs that you don't get with homeopathic drugs. If you're stressed out, if you have had grief in your family, Ignatia really helped me deal with grief. Ignatia 30C, Ignatia 200C, Aurum metallicum really helped Richard deal with his dad's death and his mom's death. He was going off the deep end. And so these are wonderful, wonderful remedies. Argenticum nitricum, sepia for women, especially postmenopausal or premenopausal or lactating or postpartum depression, works great. Sepia lachesis for postmenopausal women. So there's a lot of these sort of mind remedies that are wonderful, that have wonderful, dramatic, and permanent results. And those are your constitutional remedies or remedies off your constitution for a specific period of time. But things change. Once you get better, you move on and you don't need that remedy anymore. You might have other problems. So they made the division between different types of autoimmune diseases and tissue-specific and symptom-specific remedies. And that I thought was an act of genius because it breaks out your treatment modalities exactly by whatever the allopathic doctor diagnosed. You have a squamous cell carcinoma of your bladder, or a melanoma that is made of the following, rare things, and for that tissue, they have very specific remedies that work beautifully. Rheumatoid or arthritis, Rust tox 30 every 3 hours, alternating with Bryonia alba 200C for acute joint inflammation. So if you have that, keep this remedy on hand, and you'll see remarkable results. Symphytum 200C plus Calcarea Phos 3X twice a day, the Symphytum twice a day for inflammation, rheumatic inflammation. If you have rheumatism in your knees or your feet, Ledum palustre 200C plus Belladonna 3C twice a day. Pleuritis, fluid in your lungs, Kali carbonicum. Kali carbonicum is a wonderful lung remedy. Keep it on hand for anything lung. If you have a flu that starts in your head, or a cold that starts in your head, kind of goes to your nose and is creeping down your throat, and you want to keep it away from your chest, take Phosphorus 30 and Kali carbonicum 200C to keep your lungs free and safe. Lupus. Everyone know lupus? You have that butterfly rash over here. It's an autoimmune disease. It affects your liver, your joints, pretty much everything. Your kidneys get destroyed. A great protocol is Thuja occidentalis 30C twice a day for the joint inflammation. Miriam had that lupus, and I wish I could have convinced her to take this. Joint inflammation, rust talk, but instead, a lot of these people are taking what? Aspirin, steroids, worse. They're taking cortisone, which will destroy your kidneys and your liver. Joint inflammation, Rustox 30C every 3 hours, alternating with Bryonia alba 30C. So you take Rustox, you take Bryonia. You take Rustox, you take Bryonia. For your kidney protection, you take Thuja occidentalis. Thuja is the best, a wonderful kidney and bladder cancer remedy. It's a wonderful wart remedy. For vaccine damage, Thuja is wonderful. So for the child that has vaccinosis, Natrum sulfuricum, Renee 6X, and Thuja 30C, taken daily. You'll see amazing results. Mentally, ADHD, warts, etc. Digestive problems, little cauliflower warts, tumors, etc. If you have a skin rash, Antimonium crudum 6C twice daily, keep it on hand. You never know. They recently treated, or not very recently, this is an older study, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, repeated the arthritis, 16-year-old French girl with a recent onset of joint pain, inflammation, fevers, very, very difficult to walk. I will bet you she took the Gardasil vaccine. That was big. It's very reminiscent of the symptoms of vaccine poisoning as well. But Symphytum 200 twice a day plus Calpos 3X twice a day for several months, symptom-free, leading a normal life, much better. Not in bed, not in hospitals, not infertile, not completely bedridden. Wow. And that's the power. That's the power you can have with homeopathic remedies. I have to say, I've been experimenting on my guinea pig, who is very sporting, Richard, and he has he hurt his back very badly, and he has a spur in his lumbar vertebrae, and it's a problem of ligaments, tendons, muscle, and bone. And he has uveitis. You know what uveitis is? Uva is the middle membrane underneath your eye. And your eyes, it makes your eyes red. It gets inflamed in many cases. And the remedy, some combination of Ruta, Rustox, and Symphytum, cleared his eyes. His sclera were snow white the other night. And I was scrambling to write down what I remembered of what I gave him, because I have been kind of giving him things off the cuff. But please remember to not do that and jot down the things you do, your observations where you say, I did this and my uveitis cleared up. He has been, for the last several months, getting red eyes, so sort of red rimmed, the conjunctiva are red, the sclera are red, they're a little dry. They're not hurting yet, but they will if it carries on for too many years. And so Ruta, Rus, symphytum, some combination worked miracles. And I'm tweaking that recipe so that he carries on and this back heals. But there's wonderful remedies for ankylosing spondylitis in homeopathy as well.
So that's different than pink eye.
It's very different than pink eye. It's a
It just
condition.
comes and goes, but the other one it stays.
It's an
My
autoimmune inflammatory condition.
Son-in-law tends to have that.
And does he have back problems as well? Does he have a spondylitis?
That part I don't know.
Okay. And there's very good remedies for that. And Ruta is a primary eye remedy. So if you have red eyes, eye muscles, tendons in the eyes, blurry vision, you have red eyes, there's nothing, and it's a problem with the stuff that holds your connective tissue, that holds your eye together. Ruta is an amazing thing. Lymphomas, cancers, Thuja occidentalis 30C, twice a day is a powerful anti-tumor medicine. Heparin sulf calcarea 6C, specific for the lymph glands. If your lymph glands are swollen and you have lymphomas, these two are great remedies. For HIV, very good success, CD4 counts go up. Syphilinum 200C, and then the symptomatic treatment means as the symptoms occur, you treat for those. For if you have growths, then you give antimonium crudum. If you have Kaposi sarcoma, which is a sort of a condition, it's when your immune system is very suppressed, and Kaposi sarcoma hits people whose immune system is very suppressed. You have all these patches on your body. Thuja occidentalis is an excellent remedy. Calicarb, chelidonium, heparin sulf, calc for pneumocystis, pneumonia. So these people get pneumonia a lot because their immune system is suppressed. And for pneumonia, one of the best remedies is calicarb, chelidonium, heparin sulf, calc. So there's a cadence. There's a set of protocols, and once you know what you're doing, you can just go back to your shelf. And that's why a very good idea is to have a group of friends. And you might not remember it, but your friend might say, hey, what was that? I have a skin rash. What was it? Syphilinum or was it Ant Crude? And she'll say, oh, it was Ant Crude. And so once you have a group of like-minded people studying together and working together, you almost have your own doctor's network. Cancer is a failure of the immune system. It's a local immune failure, tissue and organ level failure. When there's local immune failure, you have tissue and organ level failure. When you have regional immune failure, you have metastases of the cancer that travel to other parts of the body. And when you have general immune failure, it travels everywhere. So then you treat accordingly. You treat the whole body, you treat certain regions with tissue-specific remedies, and you treat very local things such as pain with very local remedies. And together they form sort of the underpinning of the cure that comes from these Banerjee protocols. Then we have tissue-specific immunity. So Ruta is very good for the brain and the eyes. If you have strabismus, if you have dry eye, watery eyes, running eyes, blurry vision, glaucoma, all sorts of eye-related things, Rutagraph 6C.
Is there more than one type of Ruta?
No, there's only one.
Ruta I need.
Ruta also dissolves brain lesions, so it's a wonderful remedy for multiple sclerosis. So the plumum will carry on doing, but the Ruta is something that we really need to start on, and I'll get you the exact things after this. Nitricum acidum 3C, a very low potency, is a wonderful remedy for mucosal tissue. Where do we have mucus tissue?
Mouth.
Mouth. Perfect. Nose.
The
Digestive system. Beautiful for colon cancer, rectal cancer, all the cancers of the alimentary canal. Any mucosal membrane, oropharyngeal, rectal cancers. Heparin sulf is a very effective remedy for benign tumors of the larynx. The larynx, your pipe here. But small potencies taken over a long time. So it's gradually guiding your immune system towards health. Polycarbonicum 200C, resistance to many different lung pathologies. If you have lung cancers, a very good remedies. So I guess one of the things that we as a group have done, and both of you have done it too, you've roped in so many people into making these changes naturally. You meet people at the market and people say, I've got lung cancer. Just spit out the word Polycarbonicum 200C. Let them see what it does for them. If someone has multiple sclerosis, 6C. If someone has colon cancer, just throw out nitricum acidum 3C and let it fall where it may. And it opens people's eyes to, or minds to, other forms of treatment that are not so horrifyingly laden with side effects.
So with the mucosal tissue, it would be, ulcer would be different though, right?
Ulcer is also very good. This is very good for ulcers. Ulcers, cancers, inflammation of any inflammation of your mucosal tissue. Absolutely.
And
Very
GERD would be in that.
Yes, absolutely.
GERD would be which one?
GERD would be more nitricum acidum, but GERD would also be liver. GERD would also be things related to your sympathetic nervous system, where you have spasms of your belly and you're throwing acid back up. It could also be lack of acid in your stomach, which means you need to eat more salt and more acid. So homeopathy is not a substitute for bad food.
Yeah.
Although you can eat bad food and take homeopathy and get well, in general, for many of these diseases, there is food fixes that are actually pretty good. But they don't, the Banerjees don't advise people on nutrition. You know why? Because India has religions ranging from Jainism all the way to, whatever. All spectrum of the religions where some permit you to eat no onions, no garlic, no dairy, no this, but everyone eats wheat. But even now they're even getting allergic to wheat because of it's a long story, the pesticides and the GMOs. But they don't give advice on nutrition, but we do, We encourage people to eat good, and we have members who eat very, very good. And so all of these should be minor problems to fix for folks that attend our club. For diseases of the liver, Chelidonium majus is a #1 remedy and is a mainstay of all liver protocols, whether it's hepatitis, whether it's cancer, jaundice, hepatitis A, B, C, fatty liver.
There we go.
Sugar, glycogen storage, fatty storage disease. Chelidonium is your friend. You take the lowest potency you can find, the 6X, take it a couple of times a day, and then you can measure your liver markers and see them getting better. So Chelidonium 6X is good. Did I get you the Chelidonium?
Yes, I do have the Chelidonium. I have 2 of those.
6X? Or
And
the
I have
C?
2 of those too.
It's
Oh, but
200.
One is a 200, but I think I got you a smaller one too.
One was a 6X, and the 6X was
6X or 6C?
6, she said.
Okay, 6.
That's the only one that wasn't 200.
Okay, 6C, I think it was.
6B?
But yes, 6C, C as in cat.
Oh, C.
But you can even get a lower one, the X potencies. They are in all the Banerjee liver protocols for diseases and cancers of the pancreas, the biliary tract, the gallbladder. They use Cardus marianus, that's a mother tincture. For disorders and diseases of the stomach, arsenicum in the 3C potency is very effective. So you have to sort of know where your condition is stemming from. Is it the liver? Is it the stomach? And blood tests will tell you all that. We have modern day blood tests that tell you whether it's your liver or whether it's your gut or what it is. Thuja occidentalis is the first line agent against diseases of the kidneys, urinary tract, and bladder. Someone I know just got diagnosed with bladder cancer, and for them, Thuja 30C will be, but again, people are torn between going to the Mayo Clinic and using Thuja 30C, and all I can do is hope and pray, because I accept that people will do what they will want to do. And family in particular is very important, because family can pressure you into doing this and not the other. What is juices? Juices is just a bunch of, food. And so how could it possibly be important? And yet, juicing and Thuja occidentalis together, I could almost guarantee will shrink the tumor, bladder tumor, to nothing. For all variety of skin disorders and rashes, we usually initiate treatment with antimonium crudum 6C. So you just got to remember, ant crude 6C for skinny, skin-like things, chelidonium for liver-like things, arsenicum album for digestive issues, thuya for warts, cauliflower warts, the kind of warts that sort of stay, that don't go away. Sulfur for xanthomas.
Now, which was that, the tuya?
Thuya for warts. Cauliflower warts, plantar warts, the swimmer's warts. Kids get warts while they're out in the school swimming pools.
And you looked at me and you said what?
Xanthomas, the
Yeah.
sulfur.
Sulfur.
That's sulfur. So there's a lot of, and antimonium crudum too. Antimonium crudum 6C is a wonderful remedy, but sulfur specifically for xanthomas, and played by ear. You will see as you experiment with it what works and what doesn't, but you're on the right path. You're on the right path. Okay, Hepar sulf in very small potency or in the 200, either very small or largish, combined with arsenicum album 200C for skin and soft tissue infections. Potent. If there are infections, so this is for bacterial infection, which means you got to know if it's a bacterial in a staph or if it's a viral infection or if it is an autoimmune. And that is where you want to use your doctors. A dermatologist will tell you unerringly what it is. He won't be able to treat it, but he will tell you what it is. And that's what you need to do the right homeopathic treatment. And so the Banerjees have taken advantage of this wonderful improvement in our science and our x-rays and MRIs and scans and blood tests to give us remedies that are very specific to specific diseases. When sepsis is present, blood infection, pyrogenium 200C is the first line agent, like MRSA and all these. Keep pyrogenium. If you ever go to a hospital, keep that on hand, guys. Because at hospitals, 2 of my next door neighbors got MRSA, inline infections, and they were admitted to ICU at Marin General, actually, right in our backyard. Microorganism-specific medicines, for example, Babesia 200C twice daily and Lycopodium 30C twice daily as a primary agent for treatment of typhoid fever, which is, typhoid fever goes like this one, critical element and then long fever, critical element, long. Malarial fevers are different, they're on, off, high, low. You don't feel the chills, then suddenly you feel. So there's different treatments for different types of diseases, and these are wonderful for bacterial infections. Viral infections. So what's a wart? What wart is viral? And so thuya is your man in Havana for all viral infections, for tumors that are of a viral nature, and a wide spectrum of viral diseases, including influenza, hepatitis, viral hepatitis B and C, and prophylactically for influenza. Prophylactically means before the influenza hits. If you feel it's coming to you, or if you have members in your family who are already sick, taking some of these things will abort your disease or reduce the intensity. For dengue, when you have severe bone pain, Eupatorium, 5 drops every 3 hours, alternating with Rux Tox 30C, 2 drops, or you can take the pills. For influenza, Rux Tox 30C every 3 hours, alternating with Bryonia alba with 30C. So there's, depending on your symptoms, there's a couple of different flu protocols, and I think everyone in our group should at least have, what are the common things people get? Flus, coughs, colds, skin rashes, liver stuff, and digestive food poisoning. So you need chelidonium on hand, you need arsenicum album on hand, you need a Banerjee Protocol, aconitum and bryonia for your flus, Eupatorium for pain and flu, Rux Tox for aches, muscle aches. And then you have your kit. You have everything.
So, my daughter ordered homeopathic remedies that came in 100 pack.
Yes.
Now, do they have all in the 100 pack?
Pretty much. They have the 30Cs. They have 91 of the 30Cs, and they've got 9 of the 200Cs. And I have them in the car. I wanted to show them to you. But so there's 100 of those remedies, and then I got a 50 pack of 200s. So you don't want to search Amazon or go run out to Whole Foods when you're terribly sick. You want to have, it's like health insurance. And it's way better than health insurance because you're not running up a bill going to emergency. You're not going to doctors and paying co-pays. You're doing it at home. You're just being observant. You're just being observant. And I guarantee you, at least as a first line of defense, it keeps you from dying on the spot, having a homeopathic remedy. If you don't have what you need, take what you have already. So if you don't have arsenicum album, take chelidonium. It'll still be helpful because these are polycrest remedies, a lot of them, and they're useful in a lot of different conditions. So everyone needs an aconitum, everyone needs an arsenicum, everyone needs arnicas and a few potencies. If you get hives or anaphylactic shock, you need an Apis mellifica in a 1 ml or 10 ml, and that'll take away the need for an EpiPen. So people with EpiPens, just hang on to 2 remedies, an Apis 1 ml and an Apis 10 ml, and your face will stop turning black and blue within 2 minutes after a shock.
So when my throat closed completely on me?
Apis 1 ml. And see, it would have solved the problem. It was, when you have touch and go situations, you need to have it in your purse. Aconitum, arnica, Apis for any kind of sunstroke, guanoinum, sunstroke. You're apt to go into parades and whatnot, and the summer sun is beautiful, but hang on to a guanoinum, and the first sign of a blinding headache or feeling faintly, just pop a couple. And it'll instantly abort it. It'll instantly abort it. If you feel a heart, something coming on, take an aconitum. If you are subjected to a cold wind, take an aconitum as soon as you come back home. Or shock or trauma, aconitum. Mm-hmm. And we all need that.
Vertigo. My neighbor ends up having vertigo.
Chelidonium, arsenicum, very good. And I have a specific Banerjee protocol for tinnitus and vertigo, and I'll give it to you. So that's for viral infections. And so what is happening, and this is where, because we should do more than just know the protocols. We should understand why it's happening, why it's working. What is clear is that our disease-specific protocols have the capacity to completely cure many of the conditions permanently. So all these people who had kidney failure, who went to the Banerjees, the kidneys didn't fail again. They were cured for life, right? They do not simply suppress or eliminate the disease and its symptoms, but by stimulating the person's own immunity, they're able to create a permanent cessation of the disease, and that is where you need patience. It ain't going to happen overnight. Your immune system got into this trouble over a number of years. It's going to take you a while. It's still going to take a very short time compared to a lifetime that it took you to get there, because your immune system is always trying to do what's best for your body. And so homeopathy is really addressing the whole body and not a part, even though it's approaching it from that part, from the perspective of that.
Can it address root canals?
Actually, yes. Infections.
So what do you use for a root canal?
Bacterial infections, Hepar sulf, pyrogenium. If you have sepsis in your blood, pyrogenium is a great remedy. Hepar sulf, bacterial infections, Thuya for viral infections. Keep those on hand and take them from time to time. But it's like if you are dealing with a constant drip, 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 then you need a constant shoring of your immune system. Yes, good point, good question. People have mercury in their mouth and they can't take it out. They have.
So you said Thuya?
Thuya for viral, Hepar sulf, and
Hepar sulf.
And then what that's going to do is it's also going to place a great load on your liver. Any kind of toxicity in your body. So anytime you have toxicity, there are 3 things. One is Nux vomica to address toxicity, arsenicum album to address toxicity, and chelidonium.
Okay, I have the chelidonium, I don't have the arsenic.
Arsenic and the Nux vomica. So if someone has had too much partying the night before, Nux vomica the next day will fix the excesses. Arsenicum, if you got food poisoning or fish poisoning or shellfish poisoning, Arsenicum album is a magical remedy for shellfish, etc.
Can it be used, do people use it to cure alcoholism?
Nux vomica, yes. Nux vomica is your cure for alcoholism. You lose the desire. Caladium kills your desire for tobacco smoking. And so those are great remedies for addictions.
Drinking I need.
Yeah, drinking, smoking, and the person will just not want it. They'll just not feel like it.
And what was the one for drinking?
Nux vomica.
Nut?
Nux, Nux vomica will take away the ill effects of drinking, and over time it will actually make the person not want to. Because, when you drink, you don't drink because, you're compelled. Yeah, you're depressed. There are things going on. And depression, one of the primo causes is digestive failure of the digestive system. Once that is fixed, Arsenicum, Nux, Chelidonium. And so now you have classes of remedies, groups of remedies that help with bunches of conditions, and you can rattle them off the top of your heads. And we need the entire Health and Nutrition Club folks to go out and try this on others, try it on yourselves, and that's how you would learn,
Is there a way we can set up a grid? So
Yes.
So
Yes.
because
They're called repertories, those grids. They exist.
do they?
Yes.
Oh,
Someone has invented them.
I need to help Silvario badly.
Okay. Oh yes, Nux vomica for Silvario. Okay, and with that we're ending. Thank you, Facebook
wait,
and
do you want to do
others.
this thing for Mirabai?
Mirabai.
Once you're over the lung issue,
Yeah.
what can you do for stamina and?
So that's a Mirabai. That's a very good question, and many people get repeated coughs and colds after they've had a whooping cough. And the thing to do is to build up your constitution. Calcarb or Calphos? Talk to me about it. I think we went through all your symptoms and we decided Calcarb in a very low potency was your constitutional remedy. And the next thing I'll do is cell salts, and we'll go through every single cell salt and when you should use it and when you should not use certain cell salts. And that'll give you an idea of what you need at what time. Nervous exhaustion, digestive issues, spasticity or spasms or Charlie horses, or you've just recovered from an illness and you're very weak, so things like that. But we'll talk about that in the next go round, and those are called cell salts, and everyone should have some.